All right, welcome back to my channel. My name is Richard Bradford, and we are going to be working on a simple beachscape or a seascape that is simple to do. It's a great painting for beginners to do, especially if those beginners are teens, 12 and up. So it's also a fun painting to do if this is just your first time painting. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a simple beachscape or landscape. I'm going to take my 5x7 canvas, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to identify my horizon line. I like to use tape, put some tape down to go ahead and separate my horizon line from where the ocean is. This is just a simple thing to do, where the reason why I do this is because I can get a good, nice straight line. Test it here, and I can get a nice straight line that lets me really identify where my horizon is and where the sea, or this case the sea, but it could be the land is. So I put my tape down, I've got my straight line there, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start on my sky. Now today I'm going to be using lake blue, I'm going to be using some phthalo blue, Mars black, a permanent black, and then titanium white. Possibly using a little bit of light green as well, maybe some medium yellow. All right, first thing I'm going to do, let me get my brush a little bit wet. I'm going to put down some lake blue and some titanium white down, because what I want to do is I'm going to do my sky first. Some lake blue and some titanium white, and my sky is not gonna be dark. It's gonna be kind of light, so I'm gonna mix some lake blue with some titanium white. And I really want to have it, there we go, pretty light. I don't want my sky to be very dark, because we're gonna say that this is kind of during the day. In fact, that's probably a little too dark, so I'm going to add some more titanium white here, and we're going to lighten this up. And it's okay if I just add that white right into it, and we're just going to go through and we're going to do our sky here. Add some more titanium white to that, and we're just going to get a nice, beautiful blue sky. As I get down towards the ocean level here, I like to lighten it up even more. As I get down. So I'm going to add a little bit more of that titanium white. And here we go. Now we're getting down to where the tape is. Add a little bit more my white there. We just kind of bring it across. And I'm going to go through and even add a little bit more white into that, because I want my horizon line to be about almost as light as I can get it. I don't want to do it too light, because I'm going to add some clouds in here. Well, there we go. Nice skyline here. Pretty simple, pretty easy to do. Now this time I can remove my tape if I'd like to. Now, if I'm going to add some clouds right down here on the horizon line, I might want to keep that tape on there as well. But I'm just going to add some light clouds here and there. I love adding the clouds. So my clouds, I'm going to switch to a different brush. I'm going to use number 6 on this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit of white on here. And you can add some Mars black if you want, or permanent black to it if you want. I'm going to put some black down here because I'm going to use it later on, but I'm not going to be using some black right now because my sky is pretty light. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through and lightly touch in here. Just lightly touch. So what I'm doing is I'm not using a whole lot of paint, and I'm just adding some clouds in here lightly. Just moving back and forth in here. Not pressing down hard at all. And Do it some more. I can add a little bit of water, but I don't want my brush to be real wet. And so I'm gonna add some more down here. And I'm just going through and adding kind of hints of some cloud cover in the distance. A little bit here and a little bit there. And you can add your clouds wherever and however you want, but notice how I'm not pressing down very hard on my brush at all. And normally I would wait a little bit longer for my canvas to dry, but we're okay right now. We're okay. So I've got a little bit of cloud cover going. Some clouds here and there, not a whole lot. I don't want it to be a real cloudy sky. So I've got that. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start now working on my ocean or my seascape here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the farther away, the darker it is, and we're going to kind of lighten it up a little bit here. And I'm also going to add some beach and some slight waves in there. It's going to be a very simple but a very beautiful piece. So what I'm going to do is, and normally I would go ahead and I would take my brush, take my tape, and I would put my tape back here, and I would actually put it above my horizon line a little bit so that I could maintain that line, that distinction. So I'm going to take some phthalo blue, and I'm going to take my phthalo blue. I'm going to add just a touch of black, just a touch. That's probably a little bit too much. And then a touch of white as well. Get kind of a dark color there. And that's what I'm going to use to kind of start out and get my defining a line here. And because we are an ocean and it's a seascape and it's got waves, your line doesn't have to be perfectly straight and even, because you've got waves happening here. And so it's okay if it's not quite completely level. Now I'm just going to bring that down here a little bit. Bring it down a little bit lower, and as I bring it down lower, I'm going to add a little bit more white, because I'm going to try to lighten this up a little bit. And a little bit more white. A little bit more white. Let's get some more blue in there. Touch more black and get some white. You want to kind of lighten it up as we bring that down. So we're going to lighten this up a little bit as we bring it down into towards our beach there. So I'm going to add a little bit more of my titanium white to this, and I'm going to be using some of my lake blue as well to this. I'm going to go ahead and pause here for just a moment. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm adding a little bit more my white, and I'm adding a little bit of that lake blue into that as well. So it gives me kind of a different, a lighter color as I'm bringing it down towards my beach, because as we're bringing it down closer to our beach here, what's happening is it's getting more shallow, and so the water is going to be kind of a lighter color. You'll see I add a little bit of water in there. I'm going to add just a hint of green as it kind of comes down towards the beach here. Just a hint of green to my blue. Just a tiny bit of that green. And that gives it kind of that beautiful kind of turquoise color of water that we all seek out as we go to the beach. That beautiful water that you find in beaches in Hawaii and Florida and stuff, that kind of turquoise, really pretty color. So got that, and you can see that down in here. I'm going to add a little bit of that, just a little bit of that green up in here as well. Yeah, that's giving me the color I want. Okay, so now what I have here is I've got my ocean, I've got my sky, and I'm bringing my water down a little bit because I'm going to bring my beach up a little bit there, and I'm going to mix those two together. All right, so now to do my beach color, I'm going to be mixing some colors because I don't, in this particular palette here, have a brown. I have a burnt sienna, I have yellow, I have green. With those colors, I can make brown here. I'm gonna go ahead and pause it for a moment for this to dry because I don't want to be mixing the brown and the blues together. So we're gonna create kind of a light tan color for our beach. I'm gonna let this dry first and we'll get back to it. All right, I think we're dry enough now, so I'm gonna go ahead and and I'm mixing some yellow ochre here. I don't know if you can see it off this side, but that's okay. Some yellow ochre, some of the green, and some of the burnt sienna, and some of my titanium white to kind of lighten up the beach color. There we go. I can even use a little bit more white. We're gonna make it a little bit lighter. There we go. That's the color I'm looking for. And what we're gonna do is we're just going to create our beach. Create our nice, beautiful beach. A little bit more white in there. Okay, and it's okay if we kind of mix these two, the water and the sand together, because they are going to mix together a little bit there. Okay, now I've got my beach laid down. I'm going to add a little bit more water just to get some nice good coverage there. All right, got my beach, my ocean, and my sky. Now I'm going to add some details to kind of bring about to add to the beauty of this painting here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to add some waves way off in the distance, some kind of breaking waves. So I'm going to take, this is a very thin #1 brush here, and I want to kind of flatten it out. And what I'm going to do is in the distance here, I'm just going to kind of touch in the distance there, kind of create some breaking waves way in the distance. Way in the distance, let's say there's a breaking wave there. Okay, and I'm just doing some little details here, and you can do them however you want. Kind of in the distance, got some breaking waves. All right. And I'm just using my permanent white or my titanium white. And I am just, wherever I feel like there's a wave coming in and breaking, I'm doing that. And let me tap a little bit here to kind of give it some sense of some foam as it breaks. It always creates that nice foam there. Okay, and doing it again here. I'm gonna go through and create some more. I feel like there's something there. Okay. All right. And also again, distance here. I'm just kind of creating, I'm just lightly tapping, kind of creating that sense of the white caps there kind of forming. And if I have like this right here, this wave kind of come in and it quite hasn't curled, I can go ahead and add a little bit into that to kind of make it feel like that's a wave kind of coming in and it hasn't quite crashed yet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some lighter colors here, and I don't want to use that brush when I Again, there I need something just a little bit bigger. And what we're going to do is we're going to create, yeah. What we're going to do is we are going to create a wave by, I'm lightening up as if the sun is, you know, this water is really thin here because it's a wave and it's coming, the sun just me breaking in a little bit on that wave and just kind of lightening up on there. And you can darken below it as well. Use a little bit of these blue colors here to kind of darken the area kind of below it as that wave kind of comes in, because you've got the area below the wave is going to be kind of a dark area there because the water's coming up, and as the water comes up the wave, it's a thinner layer of water. The wave is and the water below the wave is going to be darker because it's kind of a, you know, a thicker, darker layer of water there. So use my finger to kind of go across there. So got some waves happening here. Not a whole lot. I don't want some. I'm not going to do all these details of these crashing, smashing waves coming in because we're going to keep this pretty simple. Next thing I'm going to do, this is kind of fun, is I'm going to go ahead and take, let's go back to our number 1 brush. And what we're going to do here is we are going to separate the area where the waves come in and they meet the beach. So we are going to get some water in there, get some nice wet brush with some, I want to just a kind of a thin line. So first of all, I'm going to kind of just go along here. Go along this area here. And this is where that water is beating, kind of the first layer of wave is meeting our beach area here. I'm just kind of going along right along here. So you can see that this kind of breaks it up a little bit, and I can add some foam in here as well. Kind of complete that. Now I'm going to go here. So I see some areas where it looks like the water has kind of come up here as well, because we've got a little bit of that green. So what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of going along here and adding a little bit more of that white. And what it does is we're just creating the illusion of foam. The foam, because that wave has come right up here. And we're going to add some more foam down in here because this is kind of a foamy area as this wave comes just gently in, and it creates, got some nice foam. And I can make this line here more distinct if I want by just adding more of that white. Going real slow. Okay. Adding a little bit more of that white. Just going along the edge here. Again, we're just keeping this nice and simple. I feel like there needs to be a few more waves kind of coming in. So we're going to add some more here. Maybe let me get something crashing right here. Okay. And again, I can just go along here as many times as I want to kind of lighten up this area. I can also create a shadow in front of this to kind of make this a little bit more distinct by going through and I'm taking some of my, kind of creating kind of a dark line here. A little bit, this takes a little bit more patience because it's a little bit more work, because you are adding in kind of a shadow from where the foam meets the beach. So it's just creating a little bit of a little tiny shadow in there. There's a couple ways you can do this. You can actually lay down the shadow first before you add your white, or you can add it after. Sometimes I like to do it before, sometimes I like to do it after. Just depends on how I feel, how detailed I want to get into my painting here. You can just add a little bit of that in here. And it's just going to give that nice detail that gives it a little bit more of a realistic effect. And you can even do it down here if you want. That water's kind of coming up here. So, and that's about it. That's about it. Nice little seascape. And if I decide, you know what, hey, I want to add a little bit more cloud cover in the back there, just get a brush, make your clouds a little bit more distinct, because as this paint started to dry, I could see that my clouds were not very noticeable. We're just kind of, which is okay. It's okay. My cloud cover is not the focus of the painting. It's just a little touch that helps give an overall kind of beautiful effect. So that's it. There we go. Nice, simple seascape. This is something that's pretty simple and easy to do for teenagers or beginners, or really whoever is just looking to create something beautiful and simple. Thank you for following along, and I hope you appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it.